It has to be supported by Europe. If Russia really wanted peace, they would have accepted the unconditional ceasefire offer already in March. The brutal reality is that 26 Ukrainian civilians were killed in Russian attacks yesterday. Russia has repeatedly paid lip service for peace talks, and previous talks fell apart because Russia never made any real commitments. The pressure must be on the aggressor, not on the victim. Rewarding aggression will only invite more of it. The EU has a very clear two-point plan. First, weaken Russia. Second, support Ukraine. Today, the head of the European Intelligence Center and the EU sanctions envoy briefed on the impact of sanctions. The data is very clear. The export of Russian crude oil is the lowest it has been in months. Russian tax revenues from oil are the lowest since the war started. Sanctions are hitting Russia hard and more are coming. Going after Russia's shadow fleet remains a priority, and we had a very intensive discussions about what we can do more. The EU has already sanctioned over 550 ships, and we have conducted extensive diplomatic talks with flag states that register vessels. Now we aim to have pre-boarding agreements with these states. This is a legal way for one party to board and search a vessel of another country. Slowing down the shadow fleet costs Russia revenues. This is why we will work on more sanctions on shadow fleet, both vessels as well as enablers. Many ministers also raised the financial support for Ukraine. The reparations loan is the most clear-cut way to sustain Ukraine's defense. It is always also the way to show Russia that time is not on their side. Supporting Ukraine is a bargain compared to the cost of Russian victory. Today, we also addressed the attacks on Poland's railway network. Russia's hybrid actions in Europe are increasingly brazen. Russia is committing state-sponsored terrorism. There are many ways we can respond, including additional sanctions and tackling online recruitment of saboteurs. Then on Gaza, the United Nations Security Council resolution for an international stabilization force is a game changer. Peace depends on Hamas not having a role, but it also depends on international partners having a role. EU staff are already working in the Coordination Center, focusing on humanitarian and security issues. And today, ministers discussed options to expand the EU border monitoring mission in Rafah to other crossing points. We also discussed whether the EU police support mission could take the lead in training the Palestinian police. I welcome that France pledged 100 police officers for that mission. Later today, I will also meet the Palestinian Prime Minister Mustafa to discuss EU support and Palestinian authorities' reforms. Today, we also had ASEAN ministers here for lunch. And over the next few days, we have 70 delegations in town for our Indo-Pacific Forum. Our security is interconnected. What happens in Europe matters in Asia. What happens in Asia matters in Europe. From economic security to supply chains and the protection of critical infrastructure, working with our Indo-Pacific partners is an answer to a more dangerous world. The appetite to do more is clearly there. And next week, European and African leaders will meet in Angola, where peace and security are high on the agenda. And today, the ministers approved the principles of our EU renewed approach to Sahel. The focus is on political and diplomatic engagement, human security, as well as economic opportunities. The aim is to prevent further conflict, tackle root causes of migration, and counter organized crime. In Sudan, the situation is deteriorating sharply. The capture of El Fasher by the Rapid Support Forces opened another devastating chapter in this war. The conflict has brought thousands of deaths and immense suffering. Today we adopted sanctions against Abdelrahim Dagalo, the RSF's second in command. And this sends a signal that the international community will come after those who are responsible. All 27 EU member states today called on the parties to resume negotiations for a ceasefire. And finally, on Western Balkans, we had the dinner yesterday with the Western Balkan ministers, and we discussed common challenges and how to work even more closely together on security and foreign policy issues. The closer we get to the enlargement, the more we need to stick together and defend our democracies against hybrid attacks and foreign interference. And with that, I'm happy to take questions.
Thank you. Jorge.
Hello, Jorge Liboreiro with Euronews. High Representative, I think today we all have a strong sense of deja vu, no? Because this story, we have seen it before. The United States and Russia, they work on a plan behind everybody's backs. The plan is unacceptable to Ukraine. Europeans are angry. They demand a seat at the table. The media writes that Europe is being sidelined. I mean, you know how that goes. And it's a problem for you, at least for your public perception. What exactly can you do to change this, to ensure that this doesn't happen again? Because the stakes at play here are enormous for you, for the European Union. So what do you think you need? You need a new strategy, new approach, new channel of communication. What do you need to do to ensure this doesn't happen and you really have a seat at the table? Thank you.
Well, you know, ministers in the room were quite, solid and I would say calm about this, because we have seen this before, and because different peace plans cannot work if the Europeans and Ukrainians do not agree to this. So that's why we focus today's discussions on what are we doing and what is our course of action. Like I said, we have a 2-point plan. One is to pressure Russia, and today we discussed very intensively how to work on the shadow fleet, because we also had the head of intelligence, European intelligence, in our meeting, giving concrete examples and numbers how the sanctions on shadow fleet are really affecting Russian revenues to fund this war. And this is our approach, and that's why we focused on our approach. For any peace plan to work, it needs Ukrainians and Europeans to agree.
Thank you. Gentlemen.
Thank you so much, Alex Kelly for TVP World. I wanted to ask about the shadow fleet, first of all. When do you expect there will be concrete changes in the European powers' ability to actually impact these ships and actually make the difference you want to see? A second question on the Polish rail incident. You mentioned yesterday the example of Baltic Sentry, and you said we need something similar here. I didn't have a follow-up then, so I have a follow-up now. Could I ask you, are you planning a broader response to protect critical infrastructure like that Polish rail incident, which the Polish Foreign Minister just said was designed to injure, if not kill people? Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. First of all, on your first question, we already have a huge impact by this shadow fleet sanctions on Russian oil revenues, and they are using the oil revenues to fund the war. I mean, today we had the head of intelligence really showing in numbers what kind of effect it has. I mean, I just bring you one number. When we started with the shadow fleet, the first week, the effect, the revenue from oil dropped via the Baltic Sea and the Black Sea 30%, and what we see, they are at the all-time lowest, but clearly we need to do more. It's not enough, but it clearly works. So I want to reiterate that. Now, on the protection and infrastructure, it's clear that infrastructure under the sea or the trains or all the infrastructure that we have, it requires a lot of effort to protect it along the way. So what are we doing? We are, of course, proposing new sanctions, but we also also, share the best practices, how to tackle the online recruitment. Because today we discussed also this. Who are those who are committing this? These are usually petty criminals that are bought off, to do these sabotage acts on behalf of others, and to really tackle that. And that is a national competence. But because some countries have more experience with that than the others, then to share the best practices and to really be vocal about this, that all these petty criminals cannot get away with this. If there are, I will not bring you all the examples that I have in my mind to save time, but clearly we can tackle this if we go via the online recruitment and how they work with those people who are actually committing the crimes.
Right. Yeah.
Tetiana Vysotska, European Pravda, Ukraine. I want to come back to Ukraine. I know that today you were discussing the financing of Ukraine for the next 2 years, for 26-27. What is the main, the preferable for you option of financing of Ukraine? We know that there are 3 options according to the options paper presented by commissions. And what is the situation with the frozen assets? Will it be possible to use them, and what is the position of Belgium? Is it changing or is it the same? And if I may, the second one, 20th package of sanctions, when it will be ready, and maybe hope that it will be discussed by the leaders of the countries in December. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. We didn't discuss in depth the financing issue for Ukraine, although it was raised several times. And it is true that there is option paper on the table. Those countries that spoke for the financing also expressed their support for the reparations loan, and also reiterated the urgency to move with that. So that is clearly the message that we got from that. 20th package of sanctions, we are working with that, but we also discussed whether we could be more, effective in doing steps on the way, not always concentrating on the big packages, but for example, on the shadow fleet. I mean, Russia is very creative together with our partners, and we need to be creative as well, which means that to be more agile and actually, put small things all the time on the table to tackle, which means that not the big package every time, but every time some vessels that have an effect on the Russian crude oil exports.
Julia.
Julia Sullivan, Journal TV, Republic of Moldova. Moldova continues to be in danger as the Russian drone flew over its airspace and endangering our citizens. The same drone surveilled Romanian airspace. And also a note of protest was delivered to the Russian ambassador in Chisinau, but notes of protest doesn't help us and doesn't protect our citizens. So what European Union can do in this regard?
Thank you. Via the European Peace Facility, we are supporting Moldovan armed forces also to defend Moldova. So we are trying to do in that regard what we can do. Thank you.
Thank you. Andrew.
Thank you. Andrew Gray from Reuters. Question on Sudan. High Representative, you mentioned the thousands of deaths and immense suffering, and said that today's decision to sanction one individual sent a strong signal the international community will come after those who are responsible. But is the international community, and specifically the EU, ready to go after those who are responsible for supplying the weapons that allows this suffering to happen? In particular, as you know, there are credible reports that the UAE is supplying the RSF group, which is responsible for the latest atrocities. Or is this a case of EU double standards where you will sanction countries that supply weapons to Russia, but not countries that supply weapons to an African militia which is accused of genocide?
Thank you. Very good question. So, yes, all the member states who spoke today also referred to the enablers of the warring parties. I mean, these warring parties could not really engage in these atrocities if they wouldn't have the weapons that somebody's, their enablers are giving them. So, clearly, I mean, to stop this, we need to discuss what more can we do in this regard, and the reach out to the countries is what we agreed. The outreach, diplomatic outreach to those countries, and raise those issues to really stop this, and then we can see what more can we do. Thank you,
Andrea.
Thank you very much. It appears that, I want to come back to Ukraine, it appears that President Zelensky is under pressure to actually accept this plan we have been talking about. What exactly, if anything, have you discussed in order to help him resist this pressure in particular? Thank you.
Thank you. First, we discussed that the pressure should be on the aggressor. I mean, we haven't seen one single concession from Russian side, and they are the ones who have started this war. They are the ones who have invaded another country. They are the ones who are doing the killings of the civilians in Ukraine. So, they can also stop this war immediately. And that's why, our approach is to put the pressure on the aggressor to really stop this. And this is the messages that we are conveying also to our other partners around the world. We are also, the discussions regarding reparations loan is also about, helping Ukraine to defend itself and sending a clear signal to Russia that they can't outlast Ukraine.
Nuruddin.
Nuruddin Fridi from Al Arabiya. Madam High Representative, responding to Prince Mohammed bin Salman, President Trump announced last night that the United States is going to work with the Quad parties to try to put an end to the war in Sudan. What is your reaction to that? And my specific question is related to what has been said about the individual who has been sanctioned. My question is, why it is only one, who is Abdurrahim Doglu? He's one of the three brothers who are leading the RSF. I guess your services knows them. And these three are on the top of the organization. They have the financial arm, they have the political leadership, etc., etc. Why it is not the whole leadership to be targeted in the sanction? Thank you.
Thank you. First, on the peace, we welcome all meaningful peace efforts that are made, that the human suffering will stop in Sudan. So, of course, America has also leverage over those parties. So hopefully this produces results. On your other question, I actually, I haven't been personally working on the personal sanctions, so I can't answer your question right now, but I will return. I mean, the overall understanding was that we should do more in order to stop this war. Thank you.
Thank you, Angela, and then Thomas. In the back, sorry.
Thank you. Angela Mauro of Post Italy. Good evening, High Rep. This morning you were asked if EU officials participated in the elaboration of transplant for Ukraine, and you replied that as far as you know, no EU official participated. At the end of this day, did you have time to check, and can you tell us exactly if you think and if you know if any EU official participated in this plan? Thanks.
Thank you. Like I said, the discussions were very calm and focusing on the issues that we are doing, because we have been quite steady in our plans, whereas there are other things happening outside, but we have been very focused and stable in our plans, which was what we were discussing. No, to answer your question, nobody reflected that they were part of it, so no.
Thomas.
Thanks for the question. Thomas Kutschka with Frankfurter Allgemeine Zeitung. I have a number of questions on potential further measures against the shadow fleet. So, for instance, you've said that there should be continuous listings. Has this been agreed today, or do you expect a decision in December? How about the pre-authorized boardings? You've been calling for this for some time already. Do you now have a tasking so that you can start negotiations? And then member states suggested to also go after third countries that support the shadow fleet or actors in third countries. Has this been agreed? So basically, what's the way forward on this? Thank you.
Thank you. Very, very good question. First on the rolling, the putting sanctions on the shadow fleet on more rolling basis than only in the packages. The ideas come from member states, and we agreed that they also provide the different ideas, and then we also work with the Commission to be more agile in this regard. The majority who spoke on that said that they agreed to this approach, that we do it faster. We don't wait for next package, because we saw and heard from the intelligence how these sanctions on the shadow fleet are really having an effect. We will work on that. Then, yes, it's true. I've been talking regarding this mandate to negotiate quite long, but in European Union things take time. And now we are at this point where we discuss this with the member states and we can proceed. Then also the third countries and the enablers, all the services provided to those shadow fleet. We are doing the outreach and working together with also our other partners. I mean, what we saw today as well, what kind of effect it has when we do something alone, if we do it together with the United States and the UK, or we do it with the UK and European Union. I mean, it's clear that we have the biggest effect if all US, UK and EU and other partners are also on board. So this is a clear line of work we have ahead, and this is maybe not every time a big package, but rather, the measures that we have. Also, the coordination of the measures that can be used to, slow down these ships, whether it's environmental issues, whether it's insurance issues. And today, with the ASEAN partners, we also raised this issue because it is also a question of maritime security and environment. So it is in the interest of all the countries that operate in the maritime sphere, that the rules are fair and these rules are followed. Thank you.
Thank you. Last question, Mattia.
Thank you very much. Mattia Bagnoli, ANSA, the National Italian News Agency. Two questions I wrap again on Ukraine. First of all, the Ukrainian foreign minister was connected today by TC. So my first question is, did he acknowledge that the plan exists? Because so far, this is just some of your colleagues today described it as a speculation. We don't know what it is in there. So I was wondering if the minister told you, at least if there is something in there that he could share with you. And secondly, the reparation loan discussions obviously takes time. There is a rush to wrap it up before the end of the year. The money is needed. But in the end, if there is a peace plan, and if this peace plan appears very quickly, then it's very difficult to close a discussion on the reparation loan, because maybe it's not useful anymore. So my question is, do you think that at this moment, who has the interest of going quickly, into a peace plan? Is more Russia or is more Ukraine?
Of course, on one side, Ukrainian people are killed every day, and their infrastructure is bombed every day. The winter is coming, so it's clearly that they are suffering the most. They want the suffering to end as fast as possible. That is very clear. But at the same time, as it can't be with the price of giving up your country, basically. So this is also quite clear. That's why the work on the reparations loan has to continue, because it makes also Ukraine stronger, and it makes, it sends a very clear message to Russia that Russia can't outlast Ukraine. And I just remind you that Ukraine is fighting for their homeland, for their people, for their civilians. If over 93% of Russian targets have been civilian targets, it's just to cause as much harm and suffering to the people as possible. Any government cannot agree to that you actually, award the one who is doing the killing. And that's why I think, it's also a question why Russia is now making a good face again, because I think they are afraid of this reparations loan. I think they are coming to the point where they are running out of money, and, they want to show outside that they are super strong and everything, but actually, it's not the case. So I think, again, this gives us the reason to be strong, to keep on the course, to support Ukraine, but also pressure Russia. Thank you.
Thank you. This concludes our press briefing. A good evening.
Thank you.